Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy.
Let's talk a little football. Full steam ahead, week and a half into camp. I'm curious, since last time we talked, we've seen 2 or 3 more practices. How are you feeling in big picture? We'll talk positions specifically, but big picture on the defense.
I feel like they're still not quite where they need to be, but they're better. You got to have a defense that ranks in the top 50 to kind of be competing for a playoff team. And that's with an elite offense, which I think we all expect it to be elite, but we just don't know. A lot of people are freaking out that Nussmeier's had a few throws here and there. I've actually been impressed with his passing ability and really impressed with Kyren Lacy, where he's just kind of come from spring where he was, the dominant force, and he's just continued to build off of that. I mean, he is absolutely making some DBs look silly. That's not to say that some DBs aren't making plays here and there, but and it's not even to say that they're making more plays than they were last fall camp. But I still would like to see them win a few more reps, have it look a little more like you can't see that there's clearly one unit ahead of the other. That would make me feel comfortable. But that being said, there certainly seems to be some scale tipping toward, more balance on this team.
Where's your biggest concern on defense?
I would say that defensive backs have passed up defensive line by a little bit. Just the sheer fact that, you see these one-on-one drills and they're getting beat. They're getting, they're losing their battles, whereas we haven't quite seen the defensive line go up. Also, when we do see the defensive line, they're going to be lining up against what we consider the best offensive line unit in the country. And while we consider this wide receiver unit good, I don't know that we can call them the clear-cut number one receiving unit in the country. I just think they're pretty darn good. You know what I mean? So that is where. But they're both pretty close, D-line and defensive back. The next closest to those two is a pretty wide margin between them, I'd say.
So when we look at the defensive backs, if that's the biggest red flag that you have at this point in camp, where's kind of the pecking order with who you feel good about? It probably starts with Stamps, but then you've got Woodland and Ryan and Zy Alexander's health. I mean, where are we on all that?
Man, Dashaun Spears looks like a specimen, doesn't he?
Yes.
And for those listening, that's Deshaun McBride is what he signed as.
Yep.
He changed his name to Spears when he turned 18. It reminds me, do you remember when Patrick Peterson signed?
Patrick Johnson.
Patrick Johnson. He was Patrick Johnson. And I remember being a young fan and thinking to myself, where the hell is Patrick Johnson, man? They keep talking about this Peterson bum who must be a walk-on. And that turned out to be the Patrick Peterson, one of the greatest defensive backs in LSU history. Anyways, funny story. So, I actually really like the second-team defensive backs as a whole. There's a lot I'm liking out of them. Ashton Stamps has been a bright side, although he's having to roll with Kyren Lacy
every time. I've noticed that he's with Lacy every time, which is good for him. But it's a tough way to get good film out there for the fans on Twitter.
Yeah, that's the thing is like you keep on seeing that, but then you look up and you're like, oh well, I guess he's pretty good. I guess Kyren Lacy's doing pretty good because the second teamers, I like that whole unit. I like Juwan Johnson. I like Kylan Jackson. I can't imagine that. I guess it's 5 defensive backs considered starters now. I can't imagine that all 5 don't start any games this year.
All right, I'll ask you an unanswerable question, and we'll just kind of get your thoughts on it. Zy Alexander's got a brace on. He's doing a little bit more every day, but, what do we think about his availability and his ability to play once he gets out there? I mean, they say he's cleared, but he's certainly not running with the ones.
Yeah, here's the thing. I would feel better about this if this was a Tre'Davious White coming back from injury, and last year he was the lockdown corner, and they just want to keep him safe. We're really talking about a guy who, albeit was your number one corner last year, a guy who really wasn't good last year. Nobody on this defense was good. I'm not bullying him or anything, picking on him, but I'm like, there's not a single soul who participated on this defense a year ago who you're sitting here and you're saying, yeah, he doesn't need reps. Keep him healthy. That's where my cause for concern comes in is he really actually that healthy and cleared, or are you really nervous to throw him out there and see it? Because it's not like he's just a plug-and-play guy. He's a guy who struggled last year. He's a guy who you need to see. Has Ashton Stamps really passed him up since then? It's a legitimate question. Yeah, I would say unless he's out there in full pads performing at a very high level, I don't expect him to be a starter at this point. In fact, I wonder if he cracks the top 2 lineup at first. You know what I mean? Like, is he actually going to be healthy enough to be there? You're in your top 4 corners. We'll have to see. I don't know.
Are you okay with Sage Ryan running with these USC wide receivers for 4 quarters in 3 weeks?
It's a pretty scary thought, but honestly, at times last year he was your best DB, if we're just being honest. I know a lot of people kind of looked at him as a 5-star, and it didn't really pan out as a 5-star career so far, and they wrote him off and they're tired of him. But at times he was best. He's cross-training at both safety and corner, which I think is a good thing to have a veteran guy with that kind of flexibility to move around. I also think safety is a lot deeper with young, talented players than corner at this point, because both, Kylen Jackson and Dashaun Spears were both there for spring and both played very well. So, I think any corner I see out there scares me against USC receivers.
Yep.
It's not that Sage Ryan is the wrong answer. It's that I just haven't seen it yet.
Good thing there's free tailgating liquid for the folks at the tables across the street from Allegiant before they go into the stadium. It's going to be nerve-wracking to sit down there and watch that LSU defense at the beginning. Is there a chance that LSU can develop a little bit more pass rush this year than they did last year?
Yeah, well, they're going to have to. I don't. The scary part about it, that situation, is that, well, you had a pretty dreadful pass rush last year. You bring all those defensive ends back. Well, you lose your top 3 defensive tackles off that team, right? They were all players who got drafted, by the way, including a second-rounder.
Yep.
And Mason Smith. So then you start to get a little worried. But then you go back and you watch that game film, and you're like, oh, I guess having defensive linemen lined up 2 yards off the ball is something that can be corrected with good coaching. And you look at the 2 coaches LSU brought in, and you start to get a little optimistic. You're like, this could work. And then you see Dashaun Womack is a guy running with the ones, effectively beating out some fifth-year senior edge rushers. That gives you optimism. And you start to see what, Dominic McKinley looks like physically out there, and Jacobian Guillory is a veteran defensive tackle. Yeah, I think that the defensive line is going to take a noticeable step forward. I don't see how they don't.
They need to, in a big way. I mean, it feels like they've got a lot of guys, just a matter of what level can they play at. What are your thoughts on Dashaun Womack?
Well, Dashaun Womack's 5-star talent guy. I mean, he showed it all talent-wise last year. It was the execution that was the issue. My thought is that he's probably one of the players who benefits the most from this new coaching staff, getting some isolated one-on-one time. Because, mind you, it's not just one defensive line coach, Bo Davis. They also brought in people to coach the defensive end. So he's going to have a lot of personal one-on-one time to really work this out. I think that, man, he's the one who could probably benefit the most. Savion Jones, there's an argument, but I think I was really high on Savion Jones out of high school. I think at this point, Womack's probably the most talented edge rusher you've got.
I know YouTube show's back up and running. Tell the folks where they can find it for some LSU football talk.
That's right. We're back up and going this week. As y'all know, we do a live podcast during football season only. Y'all don't want to hear from me once a week for an hour on football all year long. I know y'all don't. So we're back. Me and Zach Nagy, publisher at SportsIllustrated.com, co-hosting it. Y'all can check it out on the the Tiger Bait YouTube channel Monday night at 8 p.m. I'd love to have all y'all in there in my chat.
We'll see you every Friday, and we'll be tuning in on Mondays. Thanks, Preston.
All right, Hunt. See you soon.
Preston Guy, TigerBait.com, all the coverage for LSU that you need over at TigerBait. Mike Scarborough, Buddy Sanji, Preston Guy, the whole crew over there do a great job. And Preston joins us every Friday here on The Hunt.
Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.